Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Now, today on the table in front of us is something kind of special for a couple of reasons. Now, I know some of you were looking at the table and saying, well, that's just the Paramilitary 2. What's the big deal? Well, a couple of things. One, this is my first PM2, and this is Spyderco's first S45VN PM2. I'm not sure if that's going to focus or not. We'll give it a shot. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. The cumulative effect is that I got a knife I've never had before, and I got one in a steel that I've never had before, and I think that, oh, excuse me, sorry about that, guys, is super cool. My thoughts on my first PM2 are as follows. I have avoided them because for a long time there was a handle to blade ratio that I didn't really enjoy. Lots of little things, but then I got the PM3. And it started moving me. This is the lightweight in Rex 45. It started moving me in this direction, and I realized I wanted to have both of these. And so when given the opportunity to get a hold of the one in S45VN, which is a new steel that's out there in the world, I said, well, that is the one for me. And I gotta say, I suddenly very much understand why this is such a popular everyday carry pocket knife. It is very comfortable in hand. The blade, of course, this Spyderco leaf-shaped blade, is ideal for pretty much whatever it is that you're trying to do in your day. It is a very stabby tip, so don't pry with your knives, but don't do that anyway. It's very good in the hammer grip, should you find yourself in a gas station fight. The blade length on this is very nice for EDC use. The handle, as I said, is very, very comfortable. The compression lock is marvelous. You know, there, God. Anyway, now this one is their newest one in S45VN, as I mentioned, which is why it comes with these green textured scales. I dropped a deep carry clip on here already, which tells you that I'm planning on keeping this in the collection. I get it. I didn't, from a knife collector and sort of visual aesthetic position for a really long time. I did not understand why this knife was so popular. But as with knives, sometimes you have to get one in your hands to understand what it is that is special about the knife. This is a fantastic everyday carry. Now, this being the PM2 is a larger knife, and it's not huge, but it is a good size. Now, I've already said, showed it up against the PM3 lightweight here, Para 3 lightweight. As you can see, obviously, it is much, much bigger, but they do share, clearly, some DNA. If we put it up against our old friend, the Bug Out here, you can see that it is, you know, it's not a huge knife, but it is big enough, right? Interestingly enough, you don't get that much more cutting. In fact, you get almost the same amount of cutting as you do on the Bug Out, with just a lot more handle. And that used to bug me. But now that I'm sort of collecting knives in two ways, I have my sort of fancy collection, and then I have my everyday carry sort of user collection that I'm using because I'm doing a lot more outdoor work now. Doing my best to compensate for the COVID-19 lockdown, taking work where I can find it. Having knives like this around that are marvelous for, you know, not hard use, but harder use, and certainly, you know, I do a lot of gardening right now, and this is a marvelous tool for that. It has been an absolute joy to have, and I got to tell you, I don't know that much about S45VN yet, but I do know that whatever they did to this blade, I have whittled stakes with this. I have cut a ton of tape and, you know, materials that they use to bind plants, and it has held its edge perfectly. Here it is against our really old friend, the Rat Model 1. These knives are very similar in length. The Rat Model 1, of course, is about, you know, about a ½ inch longer. This gives you a decent size, I think, to understand kind of what's going on. You know, it's interesting how this happens. I've had friends that have had these for years, and I've used them, and they just didn't appeal to me. But then I owned one, and everything sort of changed. And I think that that's not uncommon. Once you get a tool in your hand and use it as it's meant to be used, you come to understand it a little better. Now this one in particular, with this super grippy green material on the scales, has been really interesting. However, I have ordered carbon fiber scales and a titanium backspacer because I am going to make this a little more my own. I'm just not a green guy. You know that. Knives can be any color you'd like, as long as that is black, gray, or silver. Maybe with a little red or a little blue or a little Anna, whatever. But overall, for me, in my collection, knives need to be black, gray, or silver, with perhaps a pop of color. The green, as much as I love these scales, God, I do, just isn't working. But rather than screw up the original scales here, I'm going to replace them. And I'm going to put a backspacer in this knife just for fun to see how that all feels when I'm done. Let's get some basic measurements out of the way here. We'll do the handle thickness first. This is just under ½ an inch thick at the thickest part through the handle. The scales are really nicely done. The blade stock, which is nice. I love the stock. I think it's really nice. It's got a good thickness. It comes down, of course, to a very nice edge thanks to that long, shallow grind. It's really nice. But if we go back here to the fattest place, as you can see, it is 3.5 millimeters of S45VN steel. Now, mine is still very new. I have seen these in other people's hands where they are just super drop shut. And my understanding is that this one will get there over time, and I'm really looking forward to that. The carry profile on this knife is interesting, where the PM3 actually feels kind of awkward in the pocket because of how tall it is. Because this is so much longer, it actually rides the pocket exceptionally well. No sharp edges banging on stuff. There's a little bit of jimping right here, as all Spydercos do. But when this thing's in the pocket, it just sort of gets out of the way, even though it is a larger knife. Let's weigh it, just to see how much we are talking about. Now, I know that often in my reviews, I spend more time talking about the sort of finer points of the knife, you know, the shape or this or that. But here's the thing. The PM2 has been around forever. We are at 3.7 ounces, which is not bad. The PM2 has been around for freaking ever. It is super popular. People know about it. So spending a ton of time talking about some of the finer points of the knife doesn't make a ton of sense to me. What I really wanted to do mostly was talk about how I had changed my mind and how owning one changed my mind. Let's get the length measurements out of the way while we've got it up here on the table. You get 1, 2, 3 1/4 inches of cutting on 1, 2, 3 1/2 inches of S45VN. The grip area from behind the first choil is 1, 2, 3, basically 4 inches, 4 1/4 inches. But from the front choil up here on the blade, which is where a lot of us carry and use knives like this, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full inches of grip if you roll to the back, and 4 1/2 inches just on the inside. This is a marvelous tool, particularly for gloves because of that. Now, I was talking about the Spyderco blade shape earlier. This remains one of the most useful and just flat out functional blade designs ever. It's got belly, so you can use this thing in the kitchen or to dice or to cut things very small. It has a super fine tip for fine work. Again, don't pry with this. It will not like it. But because of this completely high flat grind, the 3.5 millimeter blade stock comes down to a really nice edge. Now, I did read somewhere that somebody had gotten one of these and the grind wasn't even. You know, large companies often have QC problems. I get that. Mine's perfect. The edge bevel is absolutely perfect on both sides. This didn't come from Spyderco, so I don't think this is some particularly perfect model that they sent me to review. This came from a third party. It has, like I said, changed my mind about the PM2, which unfortunately means it's opened the door to a whole bunch of other Spydercos. I'm not sure my wallet or my collection really needed that, but here we are. So what's my point? Well, S45 is supposed to be a little better than S35. Slightly better edge retention, slightly better resistance to corrosion, although S45VN is super corrosion resistant. A little tougher, a little better edge retention. And I guess we'll all find out together, won't we? In the meantime, these are kind of hard to come by. They sold out quick, and I guess people are having struggles coming up with one. But these aren't going to go away. Now, my hope is that we're going to see lightweight models and regular weight models in a whole bunch of their knife variations in this new steel. But it is Spyderco, so you never know. They are really connected with S30V. But it's possible. It really is. In the meantime, I guess we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the PM2 in S45VN, a marvelous Spyderco knife. I really, really like it. I've been a Therapeutic Edge. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about this, or this, or this, or any of the knives you've seen on my channel, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you next time.